What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news updates, and we are going to touch on the new content this week. Of course, the Aegis Scepter Catalyst is now available, plus there are some additional exotic drops. We'll also round up some bugs to be aware of in the new content, and fixes that Bungie are targeting, plus some new secrets and more to find. And then Bungie talk about Season 16, how the season will launch alongside Witch Queen without delay, and it's going to be loaded with day one content. So plenty to talk about here guys, and if you enjoy the video, be sure to get subscribed to the channel for more Destiny 2. But getting into it, let's talk about some bugs and issues to be aware of this week. And the weekly challenge for Wayfinder's Voyage 5 isn't progressing correctly. It does list requiring taken kills with bows, but it actually requires scorn kills with bows, so bear that in mind. It can still be progressed, but also destructible walls don't appear to be counting when destroyed with Aegis Scepter. So there's both the Deceiving Appearances challenge and the Aegis Scepter Catalyst, and neither of them will progress when you destroy the walls. So that's something else that Bungie will have to look into. A couple of other quick roundups before we talk more about the new content, and Bungie do have a new community manager. So Liana Rupert tweeted that she's accepted a position as a community manager for Bungie. She's previously worked for Game Informer, Blizzard, and others, so I'm sure we'll be hearing from her in the future. Starting out with a few quick updates from Bungie, players have been speculating that the Titan's throwing hammer had its cooldown stealth nerfed by 60%. And Cosmos said, "We never stealth nerf anything, it's super obvious when changes are made to abilities, so we'd never dream that we'd slip one by you. Sometimes we do miss patch notes in the shuffle, but in this case, this was an unintended change, and we're already working on a fix for an upcoming update." And so the issue with throwing hammer is unintended and should be fixed. There were additional questions about the Trials matchmaking, and Cosmo confirmed, in case you didn't know, that the flawless matchmaking pool is account-based. So once you go flawless on one character, you're going to get that flawless matchmaking pool on all of your characters. He also confirmed that it starts by trying to match with other flawless folks, but the matchmaking system can also resort to matching against non-flawless players, and then that effect, of course, will reset at the end of the weekend. Let us know down below how you got on with Trials at the weekend with the matchmaking changes. Also, once again, bear in mind that on Thursday we're going to get hotfix 3303, but it will come with 5 hours of downtime starting at 5 AM Pacific. That's midday UTC, and the servers will be off until 10 AM Pacific, the daily reset time, when we're going to get that update, so certainly bear it in mind. Now though, let's talk about some new beats this week. And of course there is the Catalyst for Aegis Scepter. This is dropping from the Astral Alignment activity. It is an RNG drop. I think I did 10 runs and haven't managed to get one dropped just yet. So I'm a little bit tired of Astral Alignment, to be perfectly honest, but once we have the Catalyst, as we mentioned, destroying walls in the Shattered Realm doesn't appear to be progressing that upgrade, so the Thrallway and Shattered Throne is probably going to be the best shout to get all of these kills done quickly. Once you claim the Catalyst though, it also unlocks a triumph called Devotee's Remnant, and this drops a pretty cool exotic ship called the Reefborn Warbird. So a little added bonus for getting that Catalyst completed. Also this week though, we can start to unlock data cache triumphs for the Shattered Realm, and they do appear as these kind of metallic awoken orb nodes, and when you open them, there's some dialogue as well. So if you want the location for how to find all of those, I'll link Esoteric's video down below so you can check them out. And after it all, as always, we get our weekly chat with Savathun, and she talks about the light, how our ghosts are an anchor for it, and even Cade gets a mention, so check this out if you missed it.
When this is over, I wonder if Mara will uphold her end of the bargain and let me live. Killing me is probably at the top of your to-do list as well, isn't it? You've done a lot of killing over the years. Let me ask you something. Of all the enemies you've fought, how many saw your ghost and realized, that's why Guardians are so strong? Not most, but some. They might have even taken a shot at it. R.I.P. Cade. Now, how many saw beyond your ghost? How many followed the line of your light straight back to the Traveler? And how many knew enough to aim a weapon there? A few. The smart ones, the dangerous ones. You'd recognize their names. Listen to me now. Look beyond me to my worm. Look beyond my worm to something far, far worse. Then look down at that little gun in your hand and tell me, what do you think you're going to do with that thing?
Here though, let's finish by speaking about some Witch Queen stuff. and more specifically Season 16. So a couple of the Bungie devs had an interview with GameSpot, and Joe Blackburn spoke about the kind of structure for Season 16 and how they want to update it versus other seasons we've had alongside expansions. So he said, I think Season 16 is going to be the next big boiling point for us. We've really had trouble with some of these seasons that come out right alongside an expansion, and so we've put a lot of thought and effort into how we want to do better this time around. And it points out that hardcore Destiny players know that it can feel tough for the season to matter when it comes out a week after the release of an expansion. And so he says we're very excited to get Season 16 out day and date with Witch Queen this time, and we look forward for players to have a lot of stuff to do and engage with, and really see the value immediately, not only to give you stuff to do while you're leveling up, but to give you stuff while you're prepping for some of those endgame activities. So this time around, Season 16 isn't going to launch after the expansion, but instead they're going to front load the seasonal content alongside the DLC. So you can go from completing the Witch Queen campaign, for example, to jumping into the seasonal activity, and then going back to expansion stuff and doing weapon crafting quests and things like that. So the rollout is definitely going to be different. And he went on to say the other part really is when it comes down to rewards. I've been super happy with Seasons 13, 14, and 15 in terms of their reward and story, but we are still doing a little bit of robbing from the seasons to pay for things like raids, and I think players could feel that. Season 14 was awesome, but players recognize that one of the exotics is in Vault of Glass, and so if I'm a seasonal player that doesn't have 5 other friends, that can feel pretty tough. And so we're trying to make sure, as we go into 4 pieces of raid and dungeon content a year, that seasons are still fully funded, and that those dungeons and raids feel like the icing on the cake, as opposed to something that's being taken out of the pie. And so essentially he's given the example of Vault of Glass requiring a lot of the development time in Season 14 and eating into the resources that they could use for the season's content in general, but he's indicating that in future, that dungeon and raid content will be fully funded before they even start working on the season. So essentially, we should get that endgame content, as well as a slightly bigger set of content that drops as the core seasonal stuff. And so give us your thoughts down in the comment section. They do go on to talk about seasonal narrative though, and how in previous expansions and DLCs, especially in D1, it felt like they'd kind of start a story. That would be the main theme for the expansion, and then that story would go away and there'd be something completely different. But of course, now we have a long-term narrative arc. So while the themes and the inspirations for different seasons, of course, will be different, there's still that interconnectivity in terms of the narrative, and the events in the game are feeding into each other. So that's pretty interesting as well. Plus there are some additional insights and bits of commentary about things like the Destiny content vault in there too, so I'll link the GameSpot article down below, guys. But for today, that's what we have to speak about inside of this video. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it interesting. If you have, then feel free to hit that subscribe button, as we've got a lot more Destiny content to keep up to date with over the coming months. Also, a like rating down below really does help us out on the channel. But otherwise for today, guys, I appreciate you tuning in as always, and I will catch you all very soon.